last 2 days. So if I sound real congested or you may not hear me, is that's probably the reason why. Or if I look a little rough right now, um, I've been sick. But anyhow, I had something on my mind that I just wanted to convey to you. I wanted to tell you, and I was going to write this and send to you since you're a subscriber of mine via email, but I didn't think it would do it justice. But a lot of people have been asking and in the group and even emailing me one on one just to go over, how do you sell? How do you sell more effectively, to be more specific? And for those of you that have followed some of my teachings and follow some of my email correspondence and even in the group, uh, I tend to close very, very well. If I'm in front of somebody and I'm pitching or selling, whatever words you want to call it, if I'm selling a service to somebody, I typically close at a very, very high rate. And some people say that that may be natural. Some people are good at sales and they are sales naturals, and some people think that that can't be taught. And I'm here to tell you that that's false. All right, because sales is an art. Selling effectively is a learned skill, meaning you can acquire those skill sets to sell effectively. And over the last few months, I have read, reread, keep coming back to one book, right? To one book that has literally changed how I approach a lot of my meetings, changed how I approach a lot of sales settings, and even the logistics of what I talk about and the content and the framing and the structuring of what I do in meeting settings. And this book right here, you may not be able to see it, but I'll put it close to the screen. It's called Pitch Anything by Oren Klaff. Okay? Pitch Anything. This is by far the best book I've ever read on breaking sales down to a science, right? And understanding what motivates people and what pushes them, or I guess propels them to take action quicker. It just breaks all the dynamics down. But anyhow, I just want to touch on three areas today. First one is framing, okay? The second one is attention. And inside of attention, there's really two components, and it's going to be novelty and takeaway. So, framing, novelty, and takeaway. And see, when you start a meeting with anybody, from the initial conversation on the phone to sitting down to even sealing the deal, so to speak, your framing sets the context and the relevance. It's really like setting the stage. And what I mean by that is when you have the proper framing, that is projecting the vantage point and the perspective that you want the person sitting across from you to convey and wants them to think about you, the way that they think about you and perceive you. And when you have the proper framing and the context and the relevance, then that gives you that higher social status, and now you're deemed as an expert authority. Now, some questions may be, well, how do you create the proper framing? And I'll go over that. But again, this is going to be very quick, rapid fire stuff, you all. I am planning something 6 to 8 weeks out from now that is going to go over all of this in detail and how to be a sales champion. So, setting the stage is very, very important. Um, the next thing is the novelty and takeaway. We all know that when it comes to goal setting, we are either motivated by the fear of loss or the benefit of gain. Like, I don't want to lose this, so I'm going to take action. Or I really want this thing that bad, so I'm going to take action. Those are really, if you just sum it up, kind of our core motivating factors. And some people are negatively motivated, some are positively motivated. But see, in a sales situation, you have to sprinkle those two inside of your sales pitch, that what creates attention. That's what creates that curiosity and interest in what you have to talk about. So you're probably wondering, how do I do all three? How do I create the proper framing? How do I create, the attention, which is the novelty, and the takeaway? Well, here's a few things that you sprinkle inside of when you're talking. Some of the things that I do personally, let's just talk about that because I can't speak from any other perspective other than what I do. Is when I first get into sales situations, like if I'm meeting somebody for the first time, first thing I always do, I shake their hand, make direct eye contact. Second thing I do is I choose where I want to sit at and direct the person where to sit at. So basically, it would say, you know, hey, great to meet you, John. Fantastic. Well, John, if you don't mind, let's go ahead and sit down right here. So I'm already setting that context in the stage. So he's already deeming me as an expert authority. It's little bitty things, right? But it makes all the difference. The second thing that I do a lot of times is I immediately check my watch. And even though I'm imposing and trying to on their time and selling them something or there to sell something, I always say typically I only have about 20 minutes. So let's both be a good steward of each other's time and let's make this most productive as possible. So you kind of see, because what happens with a lot of sales women or men do is they get to a situation and they say, well, thank you for meeting with me, right? I appreciate your time. I never say that. I never say that because that's how 99% of sales conversations and meetings start anyhow. And the owner or manager is sitting back like this, thinking, get on with your pitch, right? Because they have the proper framing and they are the alpha, so to speak. I immediately interrupt that, right? A few phrases that I use is I'd be willing to, okay, not I can or it would be great if you could. I'd be willing to do this for you. Almost like I'm doing them a solid or doing them a favor. Just little bitty phrases like that. Uh, Other things that I say as well is uh, if you qualify. All right, so what is that? Um, let's say whatever. Let's say you're selling a product or a service. A lot of my list, my subscribers are in marketing or in the same niche. So you're selling some type of service or product. So a lot of times I will say, if you qualify, or if you're a candidate for what it is that we offer, then this will allow you to whatever it is. So when you say words like if you qualify, then it creates this void almost where now there's a separation of you're no longer just pitching them something. They're no longer the prize. You make yourself the prize now, okay? Because you got to qualify for whatever you're offering or providing. Does that make sense? So let's touch real quick on the other two, which is what you want to sprinkle in your conversation is novelty, and the second one is takeaway. So people like new things, okay? And what Orrin has in his book, To Pitch Anything, it kind of revolves around that premise of fear of loss or benefit of gain. And he talks about that what attention is a fine balance between the novelty, the newness of something, and the fear of loss taking it away, right? So whenever we are excited or whenever we see a reward, okay, or a reward is on the line, then our brain releases that pleasure chemical, which is what is it? Dopamine, right? We all know that dopamine is a pleasure sense, but it also says that studies have shown that in addition to dopamine being associated with pleasure, dopamine is released when you're talking about a reward or qualifying for something. Okay. The second thing, tension, is I may mess this word up, is norepinephrine. I think that's what it's called. Okay. And that is the chemical that's released in your brain when tension is there. So, how do you create tension? You create tension with your prospect by taking something away. You create tension by saying, I don't know if you qualify for what we have, or this may not be a good fit for you, right? So here's something I do all the time. Okay, I sell SMS, text message marketing. That's kind of what I do, and I'll set the stage by, starting out with whatever I'm talking about, but then I'll always sprinkle in the conversation this exact kind of phrase or sentences right here. I say, "Hey, customer, are you, the most important thing I hate to tell you, I meet with a lot of owners that think that restaurant owners that think their food is the best thing in their restaurant that's keeping the doors on, keeping the doors open and the lights on, and having your business running. But they're all wrong. And the most important aspect of your restaurant is having direct access to customers, and it's having a database and being able to touch and market to and interact with those customers. The majority of owners don't have that. Um, Business owner, how are you touching your customers right now? And I already know that they're not building a database. So I'm basically softly slapping them in the face, right? And just saying, shame on you for not having a way to get in contact with your customers. So in a sense, this created a little bit of tension. I created a little bit of defiance, but at the same time, in all of that, has created a reward because now I got their attention. Now they're somewhat interested because I indirectly talked to them. Does that make sense? So in your sales presentation is kind of a fine balance of gassing them up, so to speak, or just saying, here's all the benefits of what I do, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, F, all the great benefits of what you provide and offer. But at the same time, you got to have that balance in saying that, but all of this doesn't matter if you're not doing A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And if you're not doing it, then why are we here? We're just wasting each other's time, and I can pack my stuff up and leave. Do you see a benefit in what I'm talking about today, John? So do you see how it's a fine line between giving and taking? And that's how you create that novelty and that tension which has people captivated and interested. So that's a very quick rapid fire and in the pan, flash in the pan of how to frame, how to create tension, and how to create a novelty. I hope that helps you all. Take care. Bye bye.